Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to look at 5 books that have the power to completely change the way you think. Seriously, think of this as a mental toolkit for a brand new you.
So, picture this. A few years ago, there was a man who seemed to have it all. A good job, a family, but inside he'd hit rock bottom. Life's challenges just became too much, and he decided it wasn't worth living anymore. But he didn't go through with it. Instead, today, he's the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, even featured in Forbes. So what happened? No magic pill, no miracle. He found a book.
I know what you're thinking. How on earth can one single book do that? Well, it's a simple chain reaction. See, books change your thinking. Your new way of thinking changes your decisions. And your decisions, well, they change your entire life. So let's break down 5 books that leaders, billionaires, and top CEOs all read, starting with number 5. All right, first up, we're going to tackle 2 books that give you the tools to master the world around you, your career, your competition, and all the hidden rules of the game.
Coming in at number 5 is Deep Work by Cal Newport. And honestly, this book is an absolute game changer for anyone who feels like they're constantly drowning in distractions. And the guy who wrote it, his credibility is off the charts. Cal Newport is a computer science professor at MIT. He's written 7 best-selling books. And get this, he has never had a social media account. I mean, no Facebook, no Instagram, nothing. The guy is living proof that you don't need to be constantly plugged in to be massively successful.
So what is deep work? The core idea is actually pretty simple, but it is so powerful. It's the ability to focus, really focus, with 0 distractions on a tough task. Newport argues that just 4 hours of this kind of intense, deep work can produce the same results as 10 hours of shallow, distracted work. It's basically a superpower in today's economy.
And this right here shows you exactly why that's true. After just one single distraction, a quick glance at your phone, an email pop-up, it takes your brain an average of 23 minutes to fully get back into that deep focus mode. Think about that. 10 little notifications could literally cost you almost 4 hours of productive time. It's crazy.
All right, let's move on to our next book, which is, well, let's just say it's a controversial one. At number 4, we have Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. This book basically peels back the curtain on the power dynamics that have secretly run the world for thousands of years. And just how powerful are these laws? Let me put it this way. The book is actually banned in many U.S. prisons. Why? Because inmates were using its principles so effectively to manipulate the guards that the prisons were becoming unmanageable. Talk about real-world impact.
So yeah, it's pretty crucial to understand these unwritten rules. For instance, law number 1, never outshine the master. I once saw this play out perfectly. A senior employee needed some time off, so he wrote an application to his boss. But here's the clever part. He intentionally put in a small grammatical error. When the boss saw it, he triumphantly corrected it, said something like, "You don't even know English." And then, with his ego fully satisfied, he approved the leave. The employee got his time off, the boss felt superior. It's not about being manipulative, it's about understanding the currents of human nature so you can navigate them.
Okay, so mastering the external world is one half of the equation, but it's pretty useless if you don't have a strong internal foundation. So these next 3 books, they're all about building your mindset, your systems, and your sense of purpose.
At number 3, we've got Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money. This book completely flips how we think about wealth. It argues that financial success has very little to do with how smart you are and everything to do with how you behave.
The book opens with this absolutely incredible true story of a guy named Ronald Read. He was a janitor and a gas station attendant his whole life. When he passed away at 92, his family and community were absolutely stunned to discover he had secretly amassed a fortune of $8 million. So how in the world did he do it? It wasn't some high-paying job or a lucky stock pick. For decades, he simply invested a little bit of money consistently, month after month, and let the magic of compounding do its work. You see, he wasn't greedy, he was just patient. And that behavioral edge is way more powerful than any fancy degree.
Moving on to number 2, we have one of the most profound books ever written, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
The power of this book comes from where it was written. Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist who survived the Nazi concentration camps during World War II. He lost his parents, his wife, his brother, everyone. And amidst that unimaginable suffering, he observed something remarkable. The people who survived weren't always the physically strongest. They were the ones who had a purpose, a reason to keep going.
So the crucial point of the book is this. If you have a strong enough why, you can bear almost any how. Frankl's own reason for living was his dream to one day write and teach about what he had learned there. That purpose gave him the strength to endure. Finding your why is the ultimate tool for resilience. And that brings us to the number 1 book on our list, a practical guide that shows you how to turn all this theory into real-world action, Atomic Habits by James Clear.
This brilliantly illustrates the book's core engine, the compound effect. If you get just 1% better each day, you'll be nearly 37 times better by the end of the year. But the reverse is also true. If you get 1% worse each day, you decline to almost nothing. Our tiny daily choices have these massive long-term consequences.
This is the most important takeaway from the whole book. We all have goals, right? But goals alone don't get you there. It's your systems, the daily routines and processes you build that determine your success. You don't just decide to go to the gym. You build a system where you lay out your clothes the night before, making the good habit automatic.
So, we've covered focus, power, money, purpose, and habits. But what if I told you that none of this is actually new? Let's connect these modern ideas to timeless wisdom. Look at this. The psychology of money teaches patience, a virtue praised in texts like the Quran, which says God is with the patient. Man's search for meaning is about finding your purpose, echoing the religious idea that you were created for a reason. Atomic Habits is about systems, just as ancient wisdom emphasizes establishing daily routines. And Deep Work's call for focus, that's mirrored in the teaching to speak less but meaningfully.
What this all means is that these modern bestsellers are brilliant, but they are essentially repackaging fundamental truths that have existed for centuries. The wisdom has always been there, just in a different form.
And that leaves us with a final thought. If this wisdom has been around forever, why are these books getting your attention now? What is it about this new packaging that finally makes you want to listen and, more importantly, to act? That's something to think about.